Today we discuss the comic book characters that identify with the reader the most. Universe, and welcome back to the web's first must-see comic and nerd culture show. Welcome to Comic Universe, guys. I'm your host, as always, C-Dubbs, the kingpin of comic culture, guys. And today, we are where the magic happens. Brown chicka wow wow. Anyway, guys, so today we're discussing the characters that I think identify with the reader the most. Now, this is definitely a subject that everyone will have their own opinion on. Okay, and this isn't necessarily 100% the characters that I even identify with the most. I'm just generalizing the characters in their creation and who and what they are to their core best represents the reader, their hopes, their dreams, and who they identify with the most. Now, most of these are also going to be, big top tier characters, if you will, but keep in mind, this is subjective. We all have our own favorite characters. We all identify with our own favorite characters. But I hope throughout this conversation here today, guys, that you guys will understand where I'm coming from. This was actually supposed to be a Topic Tuesday, and I just didn't get around to it. We were slacking. I don't want to say slacking. We've just been really busy here in the universe, guys. So right off the bat, the first character I think of when I think of identifying the most with the reader is Batman. Batman, obviously, because his popularity speaks volumes. Okay, the fact that that DC doesn't seem to be able to create a property outside of the CW shows that don't have Batman in it. And even the Arrowverse is really the Batverse, let's be honest here, in many, many ways. But Batman, he is us as the reader. He is your average Joe. He is definitely above average, but he is just immortal man. He is who if we in our minds, if we practice hard enough, train hard enough, study long enough, and obviously have the wealth, he is who we potentially could be in the superhero genre. If superheroes were real, he is who the majority of us would want to be like. Okay, and strive to be like. Okay, even in real life, when we see a lot of these mass vigilantes or heroes that kind of go out and do civil justice and feeding the homeless, and they walk around downtown bad areas and things like that. In real life, they're essentially just striving in some way and manner to be like Batman. And it's really undeniable in that regard. He is thus a basic human. And moving on from Batman, okay, we may go back here and there, but moving on from Batman, okay, we got Spider-Man, where at first you go, but he has superpowers. How can we identify with him? It's not so much Spider-Man that we identify with. It's Peter Parker. Peter Parker is definitely the majority of us, at least some of the older guys, and the old school comic heads, if you will, because now comics are kind of cool. Superheroes are cool. Superhero movies are cool. Back when we were growing up, these are things that you could be made fun of and get beaten up for and just ridiculed, okay, and constantly being told you're just wasting your time and money. Go out and do something more productive. Some of our parents may have told us that. Mine luckily never did that. Okay, but I did have friends that didn't get into it, didn't understand it, didn't see why I would want to waste my time with this genre that I loved so much. And Peter Parker is that. He is the geek, the nerd, the dweeb. The guy that got made fun of, never got the girl, got beat up constantly until one day he had the power within him to make it stop. Now, we all have that power. We all can stand up for what we believe in and stand up for what's right and stand up to bullying. Okay, in some way, shape, or form. You don't have to punch them in the face to stand up to them or seek help. Okay. But truly, Peter Parker is us, the reader. Constantly late for things, trying to juggle work and school and relationships and friendships and trying to do the right thing and trying to honor the memory of a friend or a family member that may have passed. He is constantly juggling all of these issues in his personal life that really carry over a lot of times into his superhero life. And granted, his superhero life, sometimes also causes a lot of the problems that he has in his personal life. And that's the same thing with us. Sometimes the things at work, we bring it home and we vent to it to our significant other or to our parents, or our parents do it to us, and it's not necessarily intended. It's just the stresses of that part of our life is so great that it carries over and can affect, the other parts of our lives. And it's, again, this is a character I feel that without a doubt you truly can identify with. The majority of us can. And of course, this is again all subjective, but if you really think about it, and you may not have been, you may have been the most popular kid in school, you may have been the quarterback that got the girl, okay, but again, as you grew up and you went to work and you went to school, or if you were the quarterback and you were trying to get to the college you wanted, you were putting in all the work, okay, but something at home kind of hinders the game. It's just how it is. That's life. Like I like to say, life finds a way to get in the way, and Peter Parker's life is always getting in the way of everything else. And to be honest, it's a character I really identify with, even more so than Batman. Batman may be more so who I would like to strive to be like, okay, but Peter Parker is who I feel I am as a particular character. Now, Spider-Man is my second favorite character of all time. Anyone who knows me, my boy Wolverine is my favorite, and I do identify with him in a lot of ways too. Not necessarily the rage, but I do. And another character, or I should say, speaking of Wolverine, a group of characters that identify, I think, with the reader the most are the mutants of Marvel. The X-Men, if you will. They clearly are allegories for racism. They are created and bombarded and hated in a world where there are other superheroes that are beloved. But yet, just because they themselves have evolved from actual being humans, so essentially being better than human in a sense, okay, they're ridiculed, they're hated, they're completely and utterly considered, monsters. And also, especially when you talk of like the Nightcrawlers of the world and the Beasts of the world who are disfigured. Okay, granted, Beast originally wasn't so disfigured, if you will. Yes, he had the huge hands and feet. But the Mystiques, even though she can change who she is, who she really looks like, okay, and even like the likes of a Sabretooth, who they actually are, okay, just by looks, they can't escape. Someone like Jean Grey can walk the streets and seem normal. If her powers are in check, or Storm, her powers are in check, they look normal. They don't have to deal with as much prosecution of the likes of a Nightcrawler or a Toad, if you will. These are guys that, they just are not as comfortable in their own skin. Sure, like the likes of, Nightcrawler through religion has found his peace with it, okay, and through the help of the X-Men and his friends, did find peace with what his exterior looked like. But it's, again, as a kid especially, when you hit that puberty stage and you feel weird and crazy things are happening, and if you're not like the most popular kid or the most attractive, what society says is the most attractive, okay, you could be ridiculed and tortured. And there's so many unfortunate children nowadays that feel that the only escape from all of that, is suicide. And it's absolutely horrendous that this is where we are. And it was one of the biggest problems I had with when, Fox was still in full control of the X-Men in the cinematic universe, which I know technically as of right this second they still are, but you all know what I mean. But by taking the X-Men away and the Fantastic Four away and doing things like that, and not using the X-Men to their fullest, okay, takes away that outlet that a lot of us of my generation, okay, had an outlet for. If I was bullied, yeah, I could open up my favorite X-Men comic book, see them get bullied, and then see that those bullies needed them in the end. Okay, they had the last laugh, even though they didn't have to laugh in their face. The X-Men ultimately had the last laugh. And it always gave me the hope to strive to be better, and it let me know that they are just, misunderstanding. They themselves are the ones that are doing the bullying. They're the ones who are worse off in life. Okay, they're the ones who have it so bad probably at home that they're venting it out on me. And you have the X-Men there for those people who just are not comfortable in a world where ridicule and now with social media, you honestly, I mean, you go to school, you go to work, you may get made fun of, picked on, bullied. You go home and you try to escape, go on the internet, and what are you doing? You're getting trolled, you're getting bullied, you're getting ridiculed, you're being called dumb, you got fanboys attacking you. You got all all these pressures, okay? And without the X-Men being the X-Men, that takes away one of those outlets. And it was absolutely terrible that the X-Men have not been used to their fullest over in Marvel Comics for many years. And I hope that one day Marvel realizes that a portion of the X-Men have to always deal with that ridicule, because it helps us, the reader, grow. It helps us realize that there's hope. And speaking of hope, segue. I promise this isn't a written script. I'm going off the cuff here. But speaking of hope, another character that I think speaks to people, maybe not as much as he once did, is Superman. And at first you go, but he's a god in a man's world. Like, he's true, he is. Okay, but his tale is a tale of a refugee. This country, America. Now, if you're not here, other countries, we all have refugees. People from other lands came to this land that we all live in, okay, and created what we have to this day, okay? Some of it, most of it, unfortunately, yes, by force, okay, but some, Europeans, they came over here looking to better their lives during the Great Depression and things like that, and without their help and their blood, sweat, and tears and lives, okay, we would not be where we are today. And yes, there's a lot wrong with pardon me, especially America, okay, but all over the world, it's not perfect, but there is a lot of greatness to everything that we got. In fact, I mean, just the fact that you're watching this video on YouTube on your computer or your phone, it speaks to those people that put in the sacrifices to help make every country and all around the world as great as they are. Now, again, nowhere is perfect, and there are good and bad, but Superman gives you that hope. He sees the hope and potential in us. Now, unfortunately, over the years, it has been lost to the reader, okay, but, All-Star Superman showed us that he sees the connection of life. He sees how this tree outside my window is connected to me, how it's connected to my dog who's underneath the blanket at the moment. Okay, how we're all connected as a species, as a life form. Okay, he sees the greatness in us. He sees the fact that we don't have superpowers. Okay, but when evil really strikes its face, like yesterday, 9/11, when evil shows its face, we'll stand together. Unfortunately, it's only in those times we seem to want to stand side by side as brother and sister. Okay, but we'll do it, no matter how great the evil is. Okay, and he sees that Superman in us. Okay, and that gives us hope. And vice versa, we see the hope in each other sometimes. But he is just especially back in the day, he was a character that you honestly could relate to because he was just a fish out of water. He didn't know how to deal with what was going on with him. And then again, just as the X-Men, as he was getting a little older and dealing with his powers and feeling like a freak, if you will, us going through puberty, same type of thing, granted we didn't have the strength to punch a building, or burn a hole through wood with our eyesight, but you know what I mean, like, you really could connect with Superman, and he may be the bottom tier of all of this. Okay, and then you have other characters, like the Hulk, with those of us, and maybe even Wolverine. The inside of us, we have this rage that just wants to come out and bash everything, and some of us can relate to that, or have those dual personalities, and I'm not talking like split personalities, but like, you have to put on a face for one thing, and then when your real face wants to do another. And you can kind of confide in a Hulk comic in that regard, that whole Jekyll and Hyde issue where it's just like, who is the real Bruce Banner? That rage is just manifested because it was buried deep down within him. And guys, that's really, and again, there are thousands and thousands of other characters that I'm sure speak to each and every one of you out there in the universe individually. But these are just some of the examples of why comic books are so important you know, and they don't get the recognition, even though the movies clearly are absolutely blockbuster and rule Hollywood at the moment. The source material still is yet to get the credit it deserves for bringing those characters and universes and issues and problems to us. They have helped me, I know, grow into the person I am. Okay, and I know they've helped all of you out there in the universe too that have read them. And these characters, they stand for something, you know. You look at someone like Captain America, you know. There are patriots out there that literally would die for our country. Some of my best friends are soldiers, you know, and I see every day the way that they feel for their brother and sister at arms, and how they're treated, and how they feel like, you know, all these people, you know, ruining their Nike clothes. Man, if you don't want them, donate them to charity. You know, go. Make sure someone can use those socks. Someone could use those shoes. Don't be stupid and set them on fire, especially with your feet on it. You know, donate them. You know, there are, you know, military vets that are homeless in this world. Okay, and Captain America, okay, showed the pride in America that these guys did, and this is how our country sometimes treats them, you know, and how we treat them. Okay, so these characters out there really do speak a lot of volumes, and we can confide in them and see ourselves in them in many, many ways. And it's just, I'm a very proud comic book head, if you will. I am a geek and nerd to the end. And I'll be honest, there were some times where I did try to hide it. You know, maybe in a corporate setting, in a job I had, or whatever the case may be. Just because back then it was really frowned upon. And now I'm very happy that I can be myself. And society is a little more open to it. And I guess that's going to bring this discussion to the end, guys, that I just want you guys to think about who are some of the, and let us know in the comments below, guys, who are some of the characters you identify with. And not even necessarily that you have to identify with, other characters that you think other cultures or races or people can identify with. Maybe there's a character out there that we don't know about, or that I don't know about, that there's an insecurity that I deal with daily, you know, that, you know, I can jump into, you know. And oh, really quick, another big one, Daredevil, you know. For those, you know, physically impaired or handicapped, and I don't necessarily like to use that word, but a disabled in some way, you know. I'm not a big fan of that word either, but you guys know what I mean. He gives them hope that you know, you could be better. You don't need to be able to have two hands to, you know, get through life, or you can live a great life without being able to see or hear, or even speak. You know, there's definitely, you know, other characters out there. So let us know in the comments below, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on the video, guys. And until next time, I'm C-Dubbs, and I'll see you in the universe. Peace.